a requirement to want to please us, they give very nice, convincing answers that are completely not factual. And if we don't put the right governance around this, you get these awkward situations where poor decisions are made or there's a lot of brand risk. So it's looking at seeing how we can fix this accuracy issue. That's another area of lessons learned. The third area is, in these successful pilots, when we ask the users, the KPIs for them are much more about time and accuracy. So if I'm using this as a part of my day-to-day job, that small time that it takes to get those tokens generated on the screen, to get that analytics from a computer vision model, is actually adding up over a day to be a big significant impact. And for them, the speed, the expectation is now to be able to have real-time interactions with these systems. And combined with this is a belief and an accuracy that these answers can be trusted. And what that's really translating into is that we're now learning that smaller models can not only be faster, but they can also be more accurate because they don't have the same sort of distractions as the larger models. And you can sort of see that the whole industry, just from these news clippings, is now spending a lot of time using those 3 trillion, 4 trillion parameter models to train smarter, more efficient models that are smaller, that can be used in more locations. And then the fourth one, and I think this summarizes nicely the first 3 points, is our enterprise customers are realizing it's a platform play. They're not going to have one model. They're not going to sign an enterprise agreement with ChatGPT or Google for Gemini, and they're just going to have one model. They're going to have multiple models across their enterprise. Some of those they're going to build upon. Some of those are going to be off-the-shelf software solutions. And so for my enterprise strategy, it is a platform play. But we think it's not just a platform play, it's actually an ecosystem play, and you really need to look beyond the platform at what the ecosystem of software, infrastructure, managed service providers are out there to give you that end-to-end infrastructure to deploy what the business wants, which is rapid deployment of AI models. Now, these 4 lessons has what's been really driving Lenovo's investments. And for us at Lenovo, we really want to be able to deliver the most sustainable, the most responsible infrastructure and AI software platforms to de-risk and accelerate the deployment of your models. Now, broadly, we see all of our enterprise customers taking that build and buy approach, where they believe that they have the intellectual property, where they believe it's their secret sauce. We're seeing them choose software platforms to be able to build, retool and reskill their AI scientists to be able, their data scientists to be able to deploy and use these tools, and developing those models in-house. But let's not reinvent the wheel. So if you're talking about shrinkage reduction protection, which is a nice way of saying shoplifting in the retail space, there are many computer vision models that can look for all of the regular hacks for how people get around automated checkout systems. Why would I want to build that when I can go buy that off the platform? Under these buy and build software deployments is the value proposition that you probably know Lenovo best for, is providing that infrastructure that is the most energy efficient, the most reliable, the most secure, where you can deploy your models, as we say, from the pocket to the cloud, right from that mobile device that's in your pocket, through your desktops, laptops, tablets, out into the edge, being able to deploy AI models on ruggedized compute at the top of a power pole, right through to helping countries and governments deliver water-cooled, energy-efficient training supercomputers to be able to deploy this. Now, I'm going to pause here and bring my good friend Ravi up, who's going to talk about how Intel and Lenovo are working together to be able to give that community more of this power. Over to you.
Thanks, Ashley. Thank you. Okay, so I'm guessing it's this one, okay? Here we go. So what I'm going to talk to you about now is AI everywhere. So we've heard a lot over the last 2 days, and we hear it in other conferences around where AI is really going. We talk about the large training models, we talk about that in a big data center capacity. But the reality is, as Ashley was mentioning, that there are a lot of use cases now where we're starting to see the value of what these use cases are. And what I mean by value is, how does it help our organization? as an organization, what do we care about? Really, we care about top-line revenue, and we care about reducing costs. So everything that we do from a product organization, whether that's shrink reduction as I actually mentioned, or whether we care about customer acquisition, we're trying to move the needle for organizations. And all those business cases start thinking about why are we doing these things and how do we help our customers, whether that's external customers or internal customers. So when we think about these large language models, the conversation we have is around, do we use Llama 3? Do we use OpenAI? Do we do this? Do we do that? How do we run that? What we're not having the conversation on is, where is the data? Where is the customer? And that's why Intel's strategy with Lenovo is that entire ecosystem that you see on the screen behind me, which is AI is everywhere. Ashley mentioned it, from pocket to cloud. That pocket to cloud methodology and mindset is something that we need to start thinking about from day one, before we even start our POCs, before we even start thinking about the business case and the value case. What do I mean? Why do I mean that? So something, let's use the use case that Ashley said around shrink reduction in a retail store. So shrink reduction in a retail store theft or loss has a knock-on effect within supply chain. So if someone is at that self-checkout and they're scanning an item and they decide to scan apples, but they put beef in the shopping cart. Apples cost 50 cents, beef costs £5, £10, £20, depending on what type of beef you are. If you're like me, you like your Wagyu beef, it's a lot more expensive. But the problem with that is there's loss of revenue there because someone has taken that beef, they've taken that home, or they've taken that chicken, or they've taken that bottle of wine, or they've taken that expensive good, and they've taken that home. And in theory, they've paid for apples. Not that much of a problem, really, but when you extrapolate that over hundreds of thousands of people, over hundreds of thousands of products, and then you think, well, there's not just the problem at the checkout, there's the problem in supply chain. Because then you think, as an organisation, as a retailer, that that product is still on the shelf. Because we've done the inventory management, we checked all those items when we went into store, when they got delivered to store. Then we're going to think about the buying power I have. I then got to buy more steaks or beers or wines or whatever that might be. So you think, okay, well, how do I solve that problem? I think I solve that problem by having a camera on top of the checkout to monitor everything that's going on, monitor everything that everyone's doing. And it's train the model to have every single product that I have in my organisation. Well, hang on a minute, a retail probably has 20,000 products. So now I have to have a model that's 20,000 pounds a bill. Well, it's not that, it's actually bigger than that because I have to have the full 3D model. I then have to have every single connotation of the packaging. Can you imagine Pringles? We all hate Pringles, everybody loves a packet of Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. Absolutely. And then when they come up with the Christmas promotion, I then have to train the model again with the Christmas promotion. Marketing don't tell me as the IT team that packaging has changed. Then I have to keep training and training and training. Then I put that in the cloud. And then I think, oh my god, that's running in the cloud, it's going to cost me an absolute fortune because I'm 24/7 training and I'm running on a GPU cluster in the cloud. That's not the right way to do things. So think about the data, think about what we're trying to achieve as an organisation, take a step back from what we're trying to do. So the way to solve that is think about a smaller model and think about how does that get trained? How do I look at the movement rather than the product? How do I look at human behaviour? Then you can shrink these things down. The other problem with this is if you do go for the big GPU cluster and you're running things in the cloud, a lot of retail stores are remote locations. They're not running on high capacity bandwidth. They also have to operate the store. They have to do the payments. They have to do the self-checkouts. They have to do the store humans checking in out their workday and checking out for the contingent workers. The store manager has to think about my payroll. There's a lot of functions that go within the infrastructure within a store, not just an AI workload. And then you're streaming that video back to the cloud and streaming it back down. That doesn't work. So the IT team will say, well, okay, we'll put GPU clusters in the store. You can't do that because they're noisy, they're loud, and they're very expensive. So your value case starts to diminish. And the ROI is many, many years in the future. Now what's really interesting about the reason why we say this ecosystem, this full circle is, if you think about the data, you think about the model, you think about how you're going to train that model, you can really, really do something that's very, very specific for the organisation. And then yes, you can run those models on the CPU. And that's the beauty about the partnership within Intel and Lenovo. So what does that mean? So Intel's approach is very much open architecture from day one. Not locking you into any proprietary code, not locking you into any proprietary technology. It is completely open. So our methodology is get your data right. And as you can see on the screen behind me, it's all about that data engineering first. Starts with data. A few years ago when we talked about AI, we talked about cloud, we always said data is the new oil. Data is the oil. Okay? And AI is needed, the data is needed for AI. If you don't have your house in order, you can't build on top of it. Then when you look at the model creation, again, everything is open source. You see PyTorch, you see everything. But that is Intel's ecosystem. Again, pocket to cloud, as Ashley said. The idea is that you architect once, deploy anywhere. So the same application can do your training, and they can deploy at the edge. Manufacturing, retail, financial services, we have to think about where the data is and where the customers are. So the one thing I want you to take away from those two slides is think about where the customer is, whether that's an internal customer or an external customer. Take that step further. If you wanted that to run on the laptop, of course you can do that on the laptop with the AI PCs. Again, that was on the previous slide. Just conscious of time. So what does that mean? So as we take this partnership further than Lenovo, one of the big advantages when we all moved to the cloud was around the operational cost bin. So what we wanted to do when we did cloud was let's lift and shift everything into the cloud because we don't want things sitting on the balance sheet. But people forget. The reason why we did that was because we wanted to go operational. And we wanted to get rid of some of the legacy infrastructure. Now that most of us are pretty much 70-80% in the cloud, we then come to this challenge around how do we operationalize this, how do we get our FinOps teams around this. So one of the great things about Lenovo and what Intel is around the TrueScale, which gives you that same cloud-like billing mechanisms, but allows you to deploy that anywhere. Whether that's in the premise, whether it's in the data center, or you still get the same benefits from a cost optimization perspective. But the difference for what Lenovo and Intel are doing is around the AI discovery. So one of the things that we do is we take a step back at your organization and think about what is the use case in your organization. Most organizations have anything from 100 to 250 different AI use cases across their organization. Most people think about customer service is the number one use case, but the reality is in finance and HR, when you think about recruitment, there are lots and lots of different ways that you can organize and use AI within your organization. But we don't talk about it. We talk about customer services. We talk about those agents for returns and for upselling. We don't talk about our internal processes. And that's where you can get some real needle movers in terms of your optimization. So what Intel and Lenovo will do is we'll come in and we'll work with you and we can do that analysis for you and help you formulate your AI strategy. And then we talk about how we accelerate those. So that's really where the power of a Lenovo comes. And this is on the right-hand side of the slide. Left, right, left, right. Just get them the right way around. It's around Intel's and Lenovo's strategies very much pocket, edge, cloud, client. AI is everywhere. And that's the strength of the partnership. And with that, thank you very much.